welcome to the Courageous Self-Care Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we talk about self-care that goes beyond the bubble baths, the chocolate, and the wine. It is the self-care that goes deep. It gets uncomfortable. You often need a guide because you don't know what you don't know, and it transforms your life. Earlier this week, I started an interview with Christa Smith. She was such a fantastic guest with so many great things to share that it stretched into 2 shows. So last time we heard about her self-care practices, and this time we're going to get into her story of courage, which is very interesting, seeing as how she is a professional ninja and stunt woman. So here is part 2 of the interview. That. Now, let's move into your story of courage. And just before you get into that, if you're new to the show, the reason that I love to have the guests share a story of courage is because I feel like courage is this energy that is swirling all around us, and some people haven't quite figured out how to access it yet. And so when we hear another woman or another person's story of courage, it gives us, it lifts that veil a little bit and gives us access to that energy of courage, and we might be able to use it to make a decision right away. Or it might come up a few weeks or months later, and oh yeah, I remember that woman did that. And because she did it, I feel like I can do it too. So we can borrow the courage of each other, and that's why it's so powerful to share our stories. So Michelle, I'm really looking forward to hearing yours.
I grew up I'm a stunt woman. So people assume it's like there's this identity put on me of you're a stunt woman, you'll do that, you're courageous, try anything. And that is absolutely not true. I had never, and I still actually don't think that I'm a physically courageous person. I had never any interest in doing any extreme sports. Like, I threw a metal stick around my face since I was 5 years old. So there is a certain tolerance for things that I have. And then I never actually imagined myself getting into stunts. Stunts sort of found me. And so what I have discovered is that because I had labeled myself as not a courageous person, I never sought out any of that stuff. But even circus, I don't like heights, and yet I've performed at 80 feet on a silk before. And I think really what I've discovered is that it's all in your mind. And stunts is my perfect example, where there's been things that have really, really, really scared me, and I was dreading it, like going to bed that night being like, oh, tomorrow I have to go to work and I have to do this thing. And what has saved me is just the unwavering faith in myself. And it has taken me, I started stunts when I was like 23, 24. It took me all the way to 23, 24 to realize, to accept, to understand that I am courageous and I am capable of doing skills that require me to be extremely focused and calm. And I think that I had to go through all that performance anxiety as a kid, and all that performance anxiety was self-doubt. And where I learned about that self-doubt was when I was doing stunts, where the stakes were way higher. It's, if you get that anxiety happening while you're about to do the stunt, you're going to get hurt. So how do I get to this space where I'm calm and I'm focused and I'm trusting that my body, which is, I've been training my entire life, will do the things it needs to do to keep me safe. And it's like I've needed to prove that to myself over and over and over again before my ego and my self could even start to even believe that. So I've really had to discover what courage meant to me. And I'm really, really lucky that stunts and circus came into my life, because it was an opportunity to show me that I'm a courageous person. And now it's funny because I do stuff on set, and I just go into this automatic mode where like my brain shuts off and I'm completely focused and present, and it just happens automatically now. And it's funny because I don't think that it hitting the ground on cement is as scary as starting a business and really shifting my life into a new way of being. That's what's scaring me right now.
Yeah.
Where I'm realizing that I'm changing and I'm growing into like a businesswoman and a CEO, and what does that look in my life, and not having training and performing be my priority anymore. This is like really new for me, and I felt it coming. And so I'm sitting in this space of, I don't know who I am if I'm not doing that, and it's so terrifying. But at the same time, I have spent my entire life proving to myself, like so many times, proving to myself when I doubted myself that I am capable of really stepping forward and doing anything I set my mind to. So yeah, my story of courage really evolves around my career, but having to take these little incremental steps throughout my entire life to find that space where I really believe that I'm a courageous woman. And I am. We all are. And I've mentioned before where there's many different ways to be courageous during your day. It could be wearing a different piece of clothing that you don't normally wear, or trying a new class that you've never done, or going to a public speaking group like Toastmasters or something where you have to actually stand up in front of people. And those little moments, they add up over time. Little things that you do every day, or having the courage to smile at somebody while you're walking down the street. That is terrifying.
It can be, yeah.
That like fear of rejection and
Yes.
and just having those little steps. It's like putting a little stone in front of you as you're walking down a path to mark your path, and then you all of a sudden you turn around and there's all these little steps, and then you're like, oh, I got this, I can do this.
Nice.
And yeah, and I think it's a really good thing, just to a little thing, trying a new thing on the menu that you've never tried before. So it can be so simple, and it doesn't have to be these big things where I'm gonna go skydiving, or I'm gonna backpack across Europe, or go learn to do a backflip, which is terrifying, I'll tell you that. It doesn't have to be that. It can be so simple. And I'm like, the example just popped in my head. Wear 2 different color of earrings.
I didn't think of that one. That's a great idea.
Isn't it? Like, yeah. And you feel like such a badass. You're like, I'm wearing 2 different earrings. Starting a thing.
I love it. Love it. And I definitely agree. So I am curious, what stunt took the most courage for you that you've ever done?
I think I don't like falling. Anything where I've had to fall. I think actually I was more scared when I was learning to do high falls. The first time you get up on a ledge and they put a box rig down. So box rig is literally a bunch of cardboard boxes all put together and tied together with a rope so they don't go flying, and you fall into that. You don't necessarily always fall into a mat. Yeah. And I remember like standing there and I'm falling backwards, and they're just like, okay, bye. But there was one gig that I was doing. I was working on this show called Forever 16, and I had been hired to do 3 or 4 fight scenes and some motorcycle riding. And we were working out in Mission. We were mostly doing night shoots in December. So night shoots means you shoot all night long in December outside. And it was freezing. And I was really skinny at the time, so I didn't have a lot of fat on my body to insulate me. I was wearing these tiny little pleather pants and a little leather jacket, and I was cold. And so we're doing these fight scenes, and we finish one scene and they're doing a setup for something else, and my coordinator comes over and we're standing outside, and we're at this like paper mill, and there's a big catwalk about 30 feet in the air. And he's like, okay, Michelle, you're gonna climb up on that catwalk. and you're going to do a backflip off, and you'll just land in some pads we'll put at the bottom here. Like, just like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, like, didn't. And he's like, no, go, do it now.
Oh.
And all of a sudden, like, the camera crew is up and they're setting up, and I was just like, oh gosh, we're doing this now. And it was freezing out. I remember how cold it was. So I went around and up the stairs, and I'm walking out on the catwalk, and I think the only way I'm getting off of this catwalk is to do a backflip off of it into some pads, maybe like a 12-inch pad on the bottom. And so I had to climb over the railing and hang off the railing with my feet on the edge of this catwalk. And I remember being up there, and I was shaking. My hands were shaking. And I just like, I can't climb over the bar and not do this. That it's just not an option in this situation. But then I'm thinking, I know how to backflip. That I'm okay with. I don't like falling, but I can do it.
Yeah.
So there's got to be this space that I need to get to, and I call it don't think, just do.
Mm-hmm.
The sooner I turn my brain off and do this, the sooner it will be over.
Yes.
And so all I had to do was I had to decide to do it.
Yeah.
And just no excuses, shut everything down. I'm here, I'm present, take a breath, and just go. Because then it'll be over.
Yeah.
And it has, and it's terrifying, but not quite as terrifying as I thought it was going to be. And I land there, and it was like, okay, great, good. And I'm like, great, okay. Okay, now go do it again.
Oh.
I'm going to start all over again. But I'd already done it. So I was like, okay. So that moment at the top just took a little bit less time. I think I did it about 3 or 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
I just remember how cold the railing was under my hands that were like shaking, and like, oh God. Like, what am I doing with my life? But I know people that get a kick out of that. Like, they live for that feeling.
Yeah.
And so I think somebody said it, I've heard it before, somebody said it at the Fearless Women Summit, where fear and excitement are the same feeling. I don't know if maybe that was you or somebody else, but that anxiousness, that, for me, it's the heart is going a million miles an hour and my whole body is vibrating. That is the same feeling I get when I go on a roller coaster, and I love roller coasters.
Yeah.
So can you reframe that into a way where I can shift that and be like, I'm not scared, I'm excited.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know if I was excited in that moment. But.
That's all so fascinating. I love it. And thank you for sharing that story with us.
You're welcome.
It was a really good example of a skill that you have used to do stunts, but a skill that you can use in any part of your life. Like, it really is about, okay, there's this thing that I know that I'm going to do, whatever reason, whether it's something that's in you or someone's telling you that you're going to do it. Yeah. And then making the decision to do it, taking that breath and acting on it. And
exactly,
that's so valuable. Like, that's a great step-by-step. This is how you get through fear. Yeah. And the benefits on the other side are, what would you say for you?
I think in a work setting, when I'm working, it's having the approval of my peers and the crew around me. Usually crews on set are really, really happy to like congratulate you and you've done something cool, which is really nice because it feels good.
Yes.
To have people being like, good job, that was awesome, you're so badass. It's like, you're like, oh, thank you. Because I'm feeling badass right now. But it's that every time I've done something like that, it's always when I get to the bottom, it's been, well, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't as scary, or maybe it was scary, but it wasn't as dramatic and life-changing as I thought it was going to be. It didn't, like, I'm here. I made it to the other side. It wasn't as dramatic as, it wasn't as big as I made it out to be. I went skydiving as well. I got volunteered to go skydiving because I'm a stunt woman.
Yes.
They're like, and it was for one of my best friend's wedding, and none of the other bridesmaids wanted to go. And they're like, Michelle will go. She's a stunt woman. I guess I'm going skydiving. Okay. But it was the same thing. It was in that airplane being like, this plane is not landing with me in it. The only way out of this plane is to jump out. So you better get it together and find the space and just go.
Yeah.
And I repeat to myself a lot, don't think, just do. Because as soon as you start thinking, all these stories start happening. And especially in these moments where you have to make that decision, like you said, you have to make that decision to jump. The longer you sit there and think about it, the bigger the jump is going to get.
Right. That's so true.
Right. And you could just go.
Yeah.
Discover what you discover on the other side.
Yeah.
So maybe you do it again, or maybe you go, I'm never doing that again in my entire life.
Yeah. And yay, I don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it. Check.
Yeah. Oh, Michelle, this has been so delightful. Thank you for sharing all of that, that great wisdom around courage and your self-care practices. I know that it was really entertaining and fun for me, and I'm sure it was for our listeners too. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm so glad to be here. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Good, good. So to wrap things up, if you also enjoyed this episode, please go ahead and like it. Maybe leave a comment, share it with your friends. If you're listening on podcast, you can become a subscriber or follow the channel. And if you are watching on YouTube, you can subscribe to the Courageous Self-Care channel. The podcast airs Monday through Friday, so you'll be sure to get notifications on when the next one is ready. And if you would like to be a guest and share your story of courage on the show, you can apply. It's very simple. You can overcome that fear and just click the button. Don't think, just do, and type in information.
Press the button.
That's right. And you can find that at ChristinaMarlette.com. Michelle, where can people learn more about what you do?
Well, I have a couple social media sites. My website is michellecsmith.com. You can find me on Facebook. Just Google or search Michelle C. Smith. On Instagram, I'm at michelle.c.smith. And on YouTube, it's Michelle Christa Smith. And you'll find me. There's me with my red hair, looking all sexy and hot.
The professional ninja.
Yeah. You'll be able to tell. Like, that girl looks like a ninja. Click.
And all those links will be in the show description. So it'll be easy for you to find. All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. And to wrap things up here, I want to leave you with the thought that there is nothing selfish about self-care. When one woman takes a stand and prioritizes her own well-being, she benefits, everyone in her immediate circle benefits, and it actually sends an energetic ripple that truly does transform the world. So I encourage you to act on one of the great suggestions that Michelle gave you today on how you can just move a little bit outside of your comfort zone, take care of yourself in the process. Thank you so much again, Michelle.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you for listening. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.